Hi everybody, thanks to Laurel Leaf Networking. It's so nice to be here to share with you my strategies on sleep and how to improve your sleep. I'm Marcelle Rose, nutritional therapist and health coach, and I wanted to talk to you about sleep because I find that it affects so many people in their health and how they eat and in their lives. And so I found that it's really important to introduce some strategies to improve sleep, and there are many we can try. What I'd really love is for you to take away some key strategies, not necessarily all of them, not everything will be right for everyone, but if you can take away some key strategies, it would be absolutely brilliant to just try and put into place. So don't feel like you have to do everything all at once, but just to try some strategies would be amazing. So I wonder how many of you suffer with insomnia symptoms. So these are things like taking ages to get to sleep, waking up multiple times during the night, when you wake up not being able to get back to sleep, or waking up very early in the morning. If you've answered yes to any of those kind of symptoms, then you are suffering from these insomnia symptoms. And many people that I see always tell me that they just don't feel refreshed when they wake up in the morning. They don't feel like they've had a good night's sleep. And actually, statistics show that between 30 and 50% of adults actually suffer from insomnia symptoms. So that's having a huge effect on our health as a nation. So how is it affecting our health? So we know that we feel groggy often when we wake up. We feel a bit rubbish. We perhaps can't perform our jobs as well as we think we should. But it actually does, research suggests it does really affect our health. So, for example, the lack of sleep really prevents our brain from making new memories, and it impairs our brain function. Cortisol, our cortisol, which is our stress hormone, can be really affected. So deep sleep allows us to manage our cortisol levels, so that during the day we're able to help ourselves with our stress response. So that's why sleep's so key for the stress response. Sleep allows our brain to clean up a build-up of this toxic substance called beta amyloid. You may have heard of it. Increased beta amyloid in the brain is associated with Alzheimer's disease. So again, another really good reason to get good quality sleep. It affects our reproductive system. So lack of sleep, perhaps 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night, can age men by a decade in terms of their virility. So that's, could be a huge problem. It also can cause a 70% reduction in this special anti-cancer fighting immune cells after one night of poor sleep. And in fact, the World Health Organization classifies nighttime shift work as a probable carcinogen. It provides our good sleep, will provide our cardiovascular system a really good reboot. So you'll find that our heart rate drops and our blood pressure goes down when we have good sleep. And without sufficient sleep, there is a 200% increased risk of a heart attack or stroke in an individual's lifetime. Now, I don't want to scare you with all those things, but what I would say is that we do need to take our sleep very seriously and make sure that we're actually having good sleep, and we are not only the right time and amount of sleep, but the good quality sleep is so important. So what constitutes good sleep? And by the way, please do ask questions. I'd love to hear your questions, and I will try to answer them throughout the talk, and at the end, if I don't get to you during the talk, if I haven't answered them, I will do my very best. So I would love you to say hello, tell me that you're there, and any comments or questions, please do post. So good sleep. We need, adults need between 7 and 9 hours of sleep a night. And the quality of sleep is just as important as the quantity. So after 16 hours of being awake, our body will actually start suffering from mental and physical deterioration. And we need about 8 hours sleep the following night to repair this. So just really bear that in mind. But what actually affects our sleep? So there could be so many things, obviously, and I'm going to talk to you about a number of different things that affect it and how we can try to sort of help our sleep and resolve it. These different things include stress, light exposure, electronics, the food we eat, stimulants, exercise and activity, and even our body temperature. So I'm going to kick off with stress. I think probably pretty much most people know, have worked out that stress is a factor that can really profoundly affect how we sleep. And obviously, as we've discussed, that the lack of good sleep can have an impact on our stress. So what happens when we're stressed? It can dysregulate our hormones, and we can lose our circadian rhythm, which is our internal body clock. So we have a hormone called cortisol, which is often known as the stress hormone because of its connection to the stress response. And it's released in response to stress and also low blood sugar. In the olden days, when we have our cortisol, it's a great thing because we needed it to run away from a bear, say. We needed that stress response. We still need it now. Say we step into the road and we have to step back because a car's coming quickly. We all need that sort of cortisol to help us deal with that stress response. But the problem is nowadays is that we are so continuously stressed that our adrenal glands that produce cortisol begin to pump out excessive amounts of cortisol, and our hormone levels of the hormone cortisol and melatonin will become out of balance. And I'm going to tell you all about melatonin now because probably many of you have heard of it, that it's pretty key for our sleep. So our hormone melatonin plays an important role in the sleep cycle, and it's a natural. The natural levels should be the highest in the evening and lowest in the morning. So imagine you've got a graph, and you've got 7 a.m. in the morning, and you have this sweep going up and down. It's going up for the melatonin, so it's highest at the night time, and the cortisol is opposite. We should be having it highest in the morning and going to its lowest point in the evening. But melatonin also has potent antioxidant qualities and provides an important part of the regenerating effects of our sleep. So it's really important that we get our melatonin and cortisol levels balanced. So how do we do that? Let's have a look. So we're talking about the light effects of light exposure on melatonin. So to ensure that they're well regulated, we need to ensure that we have exposure, especially in the morning, to avoid the bright artificial lights in the evening. And research has suggested that being inside during the day, we can actually reduce our melatonin levels by up to 50%. So that has a huge impact on our health. And Laurel's just asked, does melatonin help with jet lag? Laurel, are you meaning melatonin taken as a supplement? Because you can't actually, it's not available in this country. Some people do find that it helps them if they buy it from abroad, but you have to be very careful with that. You have to be very careful with the dosage and levels of that, and you can end up going completely the wrong way with it. So it's something that needs a bit of thought and perhaps some support over that. But in this country, we are not able to buy it over the counter, as you can say in America. So we need that daylight exposure to really get the melatonin, and especially in the morning. And in order to trigger that production in the evening, we need to avoid these bright artificial lights close to bedtime. Now, obviously with electronics being so part of our lives, this has a huge effect on our melatonin. Mobile phones, laptops, tablets, everything, all those kind of things, all emit blue light. And excessive blue light exposure, especially in the evening, can disrupt our sleep-wake cycle by blocking the production of melatonin in the brain. So it's really, really important that we do some things to prevent that affecting our melatonin. And I'm going to kind of talk to you about that in a bit. So how does food and sleep, how are they affected? How does food affect our sleep? Poor sleep can affect and can cause poor food choices, and poor food choices can lead to poor sleep. So it's a bit of a cycle, really. Now, one of the key things to talk about in terms of food and sleep are keeping your blood sugar balanced, eating foods and a healthful diet to keep this blood sugar balanced. Now, this is a huge topic. It's something I could talk to you, for days about. I am going to cover it slightly, but if you do want more information on blood sugar balancing, I did run a whole 7-day guide in my Facebook group, Fuss-Free Healthy Eating, where you can just search sugar and you will find loads of information. I did some Facebook Lives and I posted quite a lot of information. So if this is a bit too top line for you, that's something you can really dig into and get some more information on. So blood sugar levels, how do they affect cortisol? Well, basically there is a correlation between cortisol and so we need to make sure that our blood sugar is balanced, and this is so key for all systems, body systems, and our health. And how do we do that? So these are the things we should be including in our diet. We should be having protein, whether animal or plant protein, with every meal or snack. We should ensure that we're having healthy fats part of our daily diet. So that's things like oily fish, avocados, nuts and seeds, olive oil, all those kind of things. That helps to balance your blood sugar. Additionally, and almost most importantly, fibre, and the best sources of fibre are from our vegetables and fruit. Going for more vegetables than fruit, just because fruit contains higher amounts of natural sugars, but making sure that you're having plenty of fibre and trying to get a good balance of a good rainbow diet of different colours of fruits and vegetables in your diet daily is really key. And obviously if we're getting that in the diet, that's really key, but there are certain foods to avoid if you're trying to balance your blood sugar properly, and these are sugar. Even natural sugars will have an effect on your blood sugar, so bear that in mind. And refined carbohydrates, and these are things made by refined wheat flour, so anything white, like white bread, white pasta, but even also white rice and potatoes has had the fibre taken out of it, and unfortunately the nutrients to process it, and that can really affect our blood sugar, as sugar can. So these are the key things to think about. There's some other things with limited studies reported that can also improve our sleep, other foods, and these have unique active ingredients. Now, I say limited studies because I think it's not as robust as obviously other information that I'm giving you, so take it with a pinch of salt. But what I would say is it certainly won't do you harm in eating them. So if you're into cherries possibly could help your sleep. You need to have about 140 grams, says the research, fresh cherries per day, or 30 to 220 mils of cherry juice twice a day, unsweetened naturally. And so that could possibly help you. And kiwi fruit before bed has also been reported in some studies to have really helped with sleep. Obviously these are healthy foods. I would say if you're having fruit, have something with it, like a small handful of nuts, so you're getting that protein to again help balance your blood sugar, so you're not having something sugary, even though it be natural sugar at night time. So you could give that a try. There are certain foods that are rich in an amino acid called tryptophan, and amino acids are the building blocks of protein. So protein's broken down into lots of different amino acids that we need for loads of different things going on in our bodies. So really important to make sure we're having our protein. But there's some particular foods that are key for this. And these include things like cottage cheese, turkey, quinoa, certain beans. So there's a number of foods. Bananas as well actually are rich in tryptophan. So they certainly have the ability to help us to produce serotonin, and the body converts serotonin to melatonin. So studies are conflicting as to whether we can this can actually affect our serotonin and our melatonin in our brain. But again, if they're healthful foods, certainly won't do you any harm to give it a try. Linda's just asked, does the time we eat at night influence our sleep? Well, certainly eating too late at night and too near bedtime can influence your sleep, and certainly if it's heavy foods and foods that are harder to digest, that can definitely influence. So trying to eat around 4 hours before you go to sleep would be a recommendation if possible. I know that it's not always easy to do that if you're working late. But certainly I would give it a try, and if you are eating late, then try to make it something that is more easily digestible. I just want to touch on a wonderful mineral called magnesium. You may have heard of it. Now, this mineral reduces nighttime production of the stress hormones, it relaxes muscles, and it can reduce the time taken to fall asleep. So magnesium has amazing qualities for this. Now, we can get magnesium from our foods, and the key foods that it contains magnesium are dark green leafy vegetables such as spinach and chard, seeds and nuts such as pumpkin, sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, almonds and cashews, and beans such as black beans and soya beans, and quinoa. So really getting these foods into your diet, and I would specifically say go for dark green leafy vegetables anyway, every day. Having a portion of those, really crucial for health. They really contain huge amounts of other nutrients, really important for our health. Now, you can supplement magnesium. You may have heard about, magnesium supplements. It's always best to get advice from a qualified practitioner. It can be very helpful, but do bear in mind having too much of it can cause loose stools. So not all too much pleasant if you get the dosage wrong. Stimulants such as caffeine. Now, we all are pretty much all aware that caffeine can affect our sleep, and it does act as a stimulant for the central nervous system. It stimulates cortisol production, and it also blocks our body's key sleeping-inducing molecule called adenosine. So there are really scientifically backed reasons why. So if you do have coffee later in the day and you're not sure if it affects you, and it certainly affects some people more than others, I would definitely have a look at when your coffee intake, trying to have it earlier on in the day or reducing the amount you're having. Alcohol is another stimulant. Now, some people say to me, often clients say, but it actually helps me to fall asleep. Well, it does enable faster onset of sleep, but you're more likely to wake up during the night, and it does intercept that sleep-wake cycle. And it actually blocks our very restorative REM sleep, which is really important for feeling that rested feeling in the morning, and really restoring our brain health. There's other things that obviously alcohol affects us by reducing muscles in our throat, so you're more prone to snoring, and it acts as a diuretic, so you may need to wake up to urinate more often in the night. So simple things that also affect it. Our sleep. Exercise and activity, also really important to try and exercise every day. As little as 10 minutes of aerobic exercise, such as walking or cycling, can dramatically improve the quality of our night's sleep, especially when done on a regular basis. So really important to try and get outside. I would say for bear in mind, some individuals find doing vigorous exercise too close to bedtime can actually be too stimulating. So you need to work out what works for you. But it certainly improves sleep quality, increases sleep duration, and can help reduce stress and even just tire you out. So I would recommend a brisk walk on the way to work in the morning. It's a really good thing to do. So you get win-win then. You get your light exposure and you get regular exercise routine. So maybe walking to the station rather than getting the bus, or walking to a further away bus stop, thinking of ways which you can implement that into your day. And the body temperature. So body temperature is, it's really important that we need to drop our core body temperature to around 18.5 degrees centigrade to initiate our sleep. So a cooler room is really helpful. And incidentally, a hot bath works really well before bedtime, as it brings our blood to the surface of our skin, and then when we get out of the bath, our body temperature will drop quickly. So that's why sleep it can really help sleep to have a nice hot bath before bed. So I know that I have kind of bombarded you with quite a bit of information, so let's just run through and summarise the key takeaway points. Because again, it's really important to think of the ones that are right for you and to try them. So first of all, looking at ways you can alleviate your stress. Now, this is a big topic and something that needs work, but thinking about yoga, meditation, reading, walking in outside space, something you can, for example, meditation and mindfulness, you can do apps like Headspace, which is take 10 minutes a day. So it really doesn't take up much of your day, but I've seen with clients that it can make a profound difference on how on their stress levels, and can help with sleep. Increasing daylight exposure, especially in the morning, really important. So how can you do that? Now, one thing I would say is I do corporate talks, and I do corporate workshops with young professionals, and one of their problems is they get up early in the morning. In the winter time, it's dark. They get to work, it's still dark. They sit in an office and there's bright lights, artificial lighting, and then when they go home, it's dark again. So I say to them, try and get out during the lunch hour and have a walk, and don't just sit at your desk to have your lunch, because that's the only time you're going to get this light exposure, and that really will make a difference. So finding time to do that is really important. Dimming your lights in the evening before you go to bed, about an hour before you go to bed, also really important. Turning off electronics at least 1 hour before bed. These are all things that are known as sleep hygiene, good sleep hygiene, I should say. One thing I would say is, if you really struggle to turn off your electronics before bed, obviously there are many other things that will impact your sleep apart from the blue light. It's very stimulating to go through social media or work emails, so that's not going to help you either. But if you find you have to be looking at the computer quite late at night for work reasons, you can actually purchase from Amazon these special glasses that are blue light emitting glasses, and blue light blocking glasses, and they are orange glasses, tinted orange, and they're special tinted orange glasses that block the blue light. So it might be worth investing in those for when you do have to. But my advice would be to try and just get it out the room at least an hour before bed. So foods, just remember the foods for blood sugar balancing. Also things you can try like cherries, kiwis and magnesium rich food. Reducing caffeine and alcohol in your diet, so limiting that caffeine and having it only in the morning or earlier on in the day. Taking a warm bath, maybe with Epsom salts, which contains magnesium, which is magnesium salts, which can give you that double lovely relaxation and really help you before bed. And exercising regularly outside, to get outside in the daylight and have a lovely brisk walk on your way to work or at lunchtime. So I hope you can take away some points from that. I just wanted to say, obviously, I'm a nutritional therapist and health coach. And if any of that resonated with you, do let me know. I'd love to hear your comments. I do specialise in gut health and digestive issues. So just to let you know a bit about what I do, and if you wanted to work with me. I particularly specialise in that area, and I see a lot of people who really struggle with IBS or those kind of symptoms that have basically been told there's not much they can do about it. Well, there is, and please do check out my blog on IBS and digestive symptoms, where you can read more about the different testing to find the root cause of what's going on, and then you can start working on healing the gut. My other areas of specialism are weight control and disordered eating and eating distress. So people who have an unhealthy relationship with food, I work with them on a one-to-one basis on programs and incorporate health coaching to really give them the support, motivation and accountability to get them where they need to be. So I'm actually opening up 5 slots, if booked, can be booked by the end of the week, for free consultations. So if you're interested, do get in touch. But also, if you feel you do need my help and would like to work with me, do contact me, and we can arrange a chat to see how I can help you, and we can discuss what your health concerns are. So do get in contact, and you can always, please do keep posting questions underneath if you have any and you think of them at the last minute. I hope that you found it useful. Thanks very much.